WRKS Pickens Jackson.
Hey, what do you say we sing a driving song?
There's not going to be any singing around here. Just
real sports.
On the afternoon drive with Jake Wimberly.
Oh, this is going to be sweet.
And it's all right here, right now on ESPN 105.9 The Zone and online at thezone1059.com.
Nineteenth day of February 2024. Welcome in. Champion the Chair Sports Maven on your radio. Monday edition of the program, streaming on the zone1059.com. Brought to you by Ameristar Casino. Get out and play today as March Madness heats up. College basketball, college baseball, NBA, and more. You can do it all at Ameristar. 4 great restaurants to serve you on the property. Bottleneck on the weekend. And, of course, you can stay playing down at Central Mississippi's premier gaming destination, Ameristar Casino Hotel. Texas 601-885-3776. That is the Cowboy Maloney's text line. Make your house a home today with Cowboy Maloney's. 13 locations around the state. Online at cowboymaloney's.com. And we are on X at Jake Wim, courtesy of Clinton Body Shop. Clinton, Richland locations, OEM factory certified. All the manufacturers you trust at Clinton Body Shop. And you can always call us on the Malone Roofing caller line, 601-897-1059. ecmalone.com is their website, 8337-MALONE. We'll have Doug Kyle at 5:15. We'll talk a little college baseball polls. College baseball is underway. Kevin Griffin in studio with us 3 till 4:30. Beav, I appreciate you setting this up and letting Kevin come in here. Kevin, what's going on, brother? How you doing?
I'm great, man. It's been too long. Everything's been crazy lately with my softball season getting started and everything else going on, high school baseball. But looking forward to chatting it up today.
Absolutely. A lot of notes and a lot of stuff. We do want to get into a lot of baseball because college baseball, we were joking about this Friday. Mississippi State and Air Force, they started about 4 o'clock. I think we were on the air. And that game went tit for tat. State, of course, wins game 1, loses game 2, wins the rubber on 3 on Sunday. Ole Miss, with a little bit of a sluggish start. It's a long season, we know that. But I think for Mississippi State and Ole Miss, and we'll start right there, and I do want to get to some notes that we have as well. When you talk about State and Ole Miss, I mean, it's for those two coaches and those two staffs, they got to win pretty quick.
Yeah, especially coming off not necessarily last year, but pretty recently national championships with Mississippi State and Ole Miss. There's a lot of expectations around here and across the South with those two schools. And, one weekend is not going to tell the story of how the year is going to go. And Mississippi State, off to a 2-1 start, obviously they would have liked to have swept that series. Ole Miss split a 4-game series with Hawaii. They probably had a lot of distractions out there going, I think it's 6 or 7 hour difference and changing time zones and then having to play baseball. A lot of distractions, finished 2-2. And then Southern Miss went 2-1, so pretty good start for them as well.
It was, and it's hard to tell because fans are going to overreact. 2-1, 2-2. What does that mean? You're a coach. You've done this for a long time. You played ball. I mean, I don't know. Internally, you don't ever hit the panic button, but you just have to kind of look down the schedule because unlike college basketball, where you've got kind of a longer non-conference schedule, baseball you rock and roll 3 or 4 weeks and bam, you're in conference play. So you got to have this thing buttoned up pretty quickly.
You really do, and fortunately for all 3 programs, especially Ole Miss, the mistakes can be corrected. They made a lot of errors this weekend. Looking at a note here I had written down, they hit 183 as a team. Ole Miss is a better hitting team than that.
Yep.
And Mississippi State had 3 local guys that got off to great starts. Bryce Chance was 5 for 12. He hit 417 with a home run this week. Dakota Jordan hammered 2 home runs, and Hunter Hines also hit 357 on the weekend. The only thing that, people would probably look at with Dakota and Hunter is they each struck out 5 times. But I think you can take that trade-off. If you're going to drive in runs and hit a bomb every game or two and strike out 5 times, I think people will take that trade-off with those 2 guys.
when you look at Ole Miss, this week they'll play Arkansas State Wednesday ball game. Then they'll come back and play High Point. Where is High Point? I have no idea. North Carolina. Okay. So, boy, something about baseball up there. You got so many directional schools, it seems like. Smaller schools, big school. That's a heck of a region, it seems like, for baseball.
And it's, of course, ACC heavy up there with all the ACC schools in North Carolina. But then you have these mid-majors that can flat out compete. Coastal Carolina, they North Carolina or South Carolina? I don't remember, but man, what a powerhouse baseball program they've had for several years. But you're right, that region of the country is loaded with talented teams.
So with the 3-game set in Oxford versus High Point, and then they'll grab Little Rock next week, Missouri State, 2 midweek ball games, and then come back and take on Iowa. I would think by the time, and look, Iowa's ranked 18th in the country. Big Ten doesn't ever get taken seriously in baseball, but you do have to play 3-game set from a team from the Big Ten. So I think what I'm getting at is you want to see now, coming off a 2-2 clip against Hawaii, a run of games. I mean, High Point doesn't need to come in here and win a ball game or two.
No.
You don't need to lose to a Little Rock or Missouri State. By the time you get to Iowa, you need to kind of be on a run here.
Yeah, you need to be clicking on all cylinders because that Friday night game against Iowa is going to be tough. Brody Brecht is one of the top pitchers in the country for Iowa. He could potentially be the top college pitcher off the board in the 2024 draft in July. And Ole Miss is going to have a tall task on their hands with that game on that Friday night against Brody Brecht. But it only takes a little bit of momentum, and all they've got to do is get off to a good start this week and play some good baseball in these midweek games. And when Iowa comes into town, they could be clicking.
And then, of course, they'll finish the non-con up Memphis, and then, of course, Morehead State on a 3-game clip before UL Monroe and then South Carolina. When you look at Mississippi State, and I don't know, I mean, is it fair to say that the room for error is much shorter for Chris Lemonis at this point?
I think so. I think people know that he's a really good baseball coach, and the players love playing for him. It was just a rough go the last few years, and it's not because there's not any talent on that coaching staff, because it's a very talented staff. Their problem right now is not pitching. They had a 2.33 ERA, and that was their problem a year ago, and that's why Coach Foxhall got let go. But their problem this year has not been pitching. It's just been they're not getting more production out of 1 through 9 in the order. It's really 1 through 4. And again, we're talking about a 3-game span so far early in the season. So
small sample size.
It's not a lot to go on.
So they'll get, I mean, you would think if you're Mississippi State, Austin Peay, 2 ball games coming up this midweek, Georgia Southern on a 3-game set, Jackson State. I mean, that's 6 ball games. They really should run through. Then Mount St. Mary's on a 3-game set in Starkville, Southern Miss here in town, Trustmark Park, Evansville on a 3-game set, and then they'll go play the Hancock Whitney Classic against South Alabama and New Orleans before LSU. So, I mean, theoretically, they should be favored in every ball game all the way through until the SEC, and I would think that they need to show that.
Yeah, you got to win the majority of those games, and inevitably all good teams drop games to people that they shouldn't. And, you know, it could be a letdown. It could be looking forward to the SEC season. But right now you got a lot of guys on these rosters who are fighting for playing time. They're trying to prove themselves and let these coaching staffs know that they could fill in and they could get it done. And there's a lot of mixing and matching. I believe once all 3 of the in-state schools, State, Ole Miss, Southern Miss, when they get their main 9 guys that are going to be their lineup pretty much every single time they roll out there, there's going to be a lot more cohesiveness, and you'll see a lot better production out of all 3 teams.
Real quickly, you mentioned Southern Miss. They went 2-1 over the weekend. They dropped a game to Marist 6-3 on. That was the looks like last game on Sunday. They lost that game, but then Air Force, they'll get Air Force on a midweek game coming up this week. I guess Air Force will stay in town and head to Hattiesburg and play that game. This today. Today they'll play them. And then New Orleans, Missouri State on a 3-game set. Nichols, Indiana State on a 3-game set. Mississippi State, Louisiana Tech, and then Alabama before they get into conference play with Marshall. So This is a good baseball team. I know they've had some turnover on the coaching staff, but talking to people down there, they expect this to be another competitive ball team.
Man, looking at their roster, it's very talented. And you got guys, they went 2-1 this week with guys like Slade Wilkes and Dustin Dickerson hitting about 125 through those 3 games. You got a transfer from BYU, Ozzie Pratt. His brother Cooper was drafted last year in the MLB draft. Ozzie leads the team right now. He was 4 for 12 this past weekend. I think that's a 333 clip. He had a double and a triple, but nobody else on the team really hit. And they were still 2-1. It's because they got great pitching out of guys like Nico Mazza from MRA. He threw a great game on Friday, 5 innings, 4 hits, no runs, and 8 strikeouts. So they're going to get great pitching. Dickerson and Wilkes and those guys are going to hit, and Southern Miss is going to be just fine.
601-885-3776. If you want to text us, that's the Cowboy Millennials text line. We are brought to you by our friends at Gutter Masters. Hey, gutters on your home can protect your home from stuff like a foundation repair that might happen in the future. You want to protect your home with a custom gutter solution from Gutter Masters, 601-503-7755. That's guttermastersllc.com. Also on Facebook as well. Monday edition of the program. Back in a bit.
Okay, we're back.
I'm ready. It's more of the afternoon drive with Jake Wimberly, where he's live and local on Jackson Sports Authority, ESPN 105.9 The Zone, and online at thezone1059.com.
We're brought to you by Burgers Blues Barbecue, Flowwood location, breakfast every morning. Get out and enjoy breakfast in Flowwood and in Madison. Of course, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, Flowwood, Madison, Brandon locations. Go to their website, burgersbluesbarbecue.com. Also, Facebook, Instagram, and more. Kevin Griffin in studio with us till about 4:30 as he gets ready for, we'll get off into this softball season. He referenced baseball, but, of course, softball. Now, you guys, we'll get off into some other notes and stuff. Let's go over to that real quick. You guys are fixing to hit the road this week?
Right. We've started 4-0 at Belhaven. We're about to go on a 20-game road trip.
Cool.
Not all at one time. We'll go to Illinois this week, play 4, come home, and then leave for Columbus, Georgia, and play 6. That's the D3 Top 25 tournament in Georgia. And we'll come home for a couple of days and then head to Orlando and play 5 in Orlando and catch 4 conference games on the way back. So, got this beautiful new facility at Belhaven and going to be away from it for 20 straight games.
So is that just the nature of the quote, scheduling gods this year?
Well, we don't have an AQ yet, an automatic qualifier for our conference. So it means something to win your conference tournament, but you don't get an at-large bid to a regional this year. This is the last year we don't have it. So we've got to beef up our schedule like we did last year and go play some top 25 teams. We're playing in Georgia. We'll play number 1, number 7, number 9, number 13, number 15, and number 23. So, we're getting a dose right off the bat.
Steve Sarkisian has a new contract. He is getting paid at Texas right at $10 million. Well, these coaches just continue to, that's what's so wild is you look at through the SEC, even the likes of Billy Napier, who is probably going to have a bad year. And these coaches are just that tells you the money that's in the league. I mean, think about that. Texas, $10+ million for Steve Sarkisian, a new contract, and it's incentive laden as well.
Well, I think with them moving into the SEC, they're more inclined to spend the money as well. But Texas schools have always had the money. I mean, I'm not sure that Steve Sarkisian is a $10 million coach, but that's who they've hired, and they're going to give him the money because they want him to have all the resources necessary to go out and compete for a national championship or an SEC championship.
Kalen DeBoer, the Alabama head coach, is the first Alabama football coach to post on social media. Nick Saban never participated online, and he just says, basically retweeting a Alabama football student athlete of the week. Great work, gentlemen. Look, it is kind of wild to see finally an Alabama coach on any social media platform.
Well, I think your players appreciate it because if they see that you're supporting them or other sports on campus for that matter, I think it brings cohesion across the board. And it doesn't matter if it's a small school, small college, a SEC school, or a mid-major. When coaches support other student athletes, whether it's their own or other athletes on campus, I think there's a lot to be said for that.
More bully on the Cowboy Maloney's text line. You can text us 601-885-3776. Griffin is no more bully. I showed off and out today. Now, I spoke to him briefly. He did bring you snacks. Those were good. Now, he didn't do the snacks, right? Somebody else did the snacks. But did he really show out today?
Oh, more bully. More bully. I mean, look, the snacks were good and the company was good, but you're going to sit here and compare yourself to Kevin Griffin? Come on. Come on now.
Hey, I stopped by Krispy Kreme to bring y'all donuts today, and they had the doors locked at 2:30 in the afternoon.
Maybe they were taking a President's Day break.
They weren't hot and ready.
But they were not. I'll tell you who's not ready. It seems like is the – go ahead.
How many games have you won as a head coach? More bully. How about that?
I mean, look, when you start comparing stuff like that, he has no shot, right? Now, if you were going to compare – I can't say this for sure – Facebook pictures with his shirt off in his pool, maybe more bully wins, right? Maybe he wins that. It's interesting what's going on. You've been paying attention to what's going on in the ACC. The ACC and Florida State obviously have been suing each other, countersuing each other, North Carolina and the state of Florida. Andy Staples reports earlier today, if the ACC is willing to negotiate with Florida State, as its most recent court filings suggest, could be now looking at the next round of realignment, because now basically it says, but by saying, quote, it's simply a commercial possibility that a school could buy back its media rights, the ACC's legal team seems to invite a negotiation. So it looks like now basically what's going on is to get out of this, the ACC has said, fine, look, you don't like us, we don't like you, buy us out and you can leave. Kind of like a marriage, right? You buy me out and you can go on your way, and this looks like where we're headed here. Well,
they're wanting them to buy out at this astronomical price. And if they don't like each other that much, the ACC just, I mean, it's going to be a publicity nightmare the entire year because this is not going to go away.
Yeah. Just
let them go. Let Florida State go where they want to go and then go out and try to find somebody that would want to be there. It's kind of like that as a coach, right? I mean, if you have players that don't want to be in your program, instead of letting them cause problems, just let them go.
Yeah.
Sign their release.
I would figure that they will settle on a dollar amount somewhere. I mean, because the ACC, they're sitting here on the Atlantic Coast Conference and they're looking all the way to the West Coast and they say, wow, we're one bad move from being the Pac-2. Because if this happens, Florida State gets a way out and they leave. Who's to say Clemson isn't next? We know that they're not happy. Miami could be after that. And then this thing starts rolling again. I mean, the ACC would have some serious problems.
Where do you think they go? Like, I don't think it's the SEC because I don't think that they believe that they can compete in that league. Is it the Big Ten is the next like power conference? Everybody's moving to the Big Ten. Then you have these Big 12 schools that are lingering out there that are really good. Is it going to end up being 2 power conferences, you think, or you think it'll end up being 3?
I think it's got a potential to be 3. And, you know, that's what's interesting about the ACC is because all of these schools line up a little differently with conferences. And what I mean is this. For instance, you take your academia schools, your North Carolinas, your Dukes, your Wakes, and not all of these schools will probably get picked up. You know, the Big Ten has I think it's called the AAU, American something universities. It's American, but they really hang their hat on being affiliated with this, you know, academia institution. What this AAU, I'd have to look it up and see. I remember reading about it. And those schools are in that academic realm. So they may fit better in the Big Ten. But I don't know that the SEC goes unchecked. I mean, Sankey has said, you know, publicly, well, we're not really eyeing expansion, but we have plans for the future. I don't know if there's a mass exodus out of the ACC that the Southeastern Conference doesn't grab somebody or 2 or 3. And the Big 12 may as well because Brett Yormark, the commissioner of the Big 12, has done as good a job as anybody of kind of fanning the flames, picking up teams as they go, doing different things. Like last year, the Big 12 had their first Big 12 Pro Day in Dallas. They're doing a bowl game in Mexico. I mean, they're trying to be creative. So it could be three conferences is what it could be.
Yeah, I think the SEC, I don't think they can afford to add too many more or else they're going to have to go back to divisions. Otherwise, schools are going to say, well, School A didn't have to play School B, C, and D, but we had to play E, F, and G. I just don't think that the schools are going to allow that many more teams to be added to the SEC if everybody's not going to come pretty close to playing everyone.
Well, you may have to get to a situation where, and all of that is fair for sure, a pod system inside these, we talked about that at the beginning, and then they said, no, we're not doing pods, we're doing just one. Yeah. But if you get north of, now the Big Ten's at 18, you add 2 more, you're at 20, you're going to have some sort of a, like you said, almost the divisions again, you're going to have to break it back up because of what you said. I mean, and we'll get off into this. I was working through schedules for the SEC this weekend, and not all schedules, and we know this, it's never that way. Not all schedules are created equal. For instance, Florida's schedule in football this year, I don't know that Georgia would want to play this schedule. It is awfully brutal. Whereas you take, for instance, Missouri, Ole Miss can sleepwalk to 6-0. Not all schedules are created equal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's going to be the complaint amongst a lot of schools, and especially fans when they get on message boards and all that. They're going to be complaining about the strength of schedule of their school compared to the strength of schedule of everybody else. And then how do you determine who's the champion of the conference if you don't split it up in East and West and have first place in the East, first place in the West, or first place in the North, first place in the South play each other? It's going to be tough to figure out a true champion.
Miko real quickly says Krispy Kreme is on full protection mode. Can't blame them for having those doors locked. So there is that. We're brought to you by Ranco Transmission, 1460 Old Brandon Road in Flowood, 601-939-9184. 50-plus years foreign and domestic transmission repair in Flowood. That's 1460 Old Brandon Road. Back in a bit.
This is the home of the Chuck Oliver Show every weekday from 10 till noon on Mississippi's live and local sports authority. And where? We're back to Jake Quimberly with the afternoon drive on ESPN 105.9 The Zone and online at thezone1059.com.
Taking you through a Monday, brought to you by Maristar Casino. We're also brought to you by Bailey Lumber, open Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. And selections may vary by store. Go to BaileyLumber.com, located in Brandon, 2150 Mississippi Highway 471. Also in Jackson, 4525. That's 4525 John Lynch Street in Jackson. Drywall, also roofing, like GAF Roofing Specials, lumber supplies, windows, doors, hardware, and more. Go to BaileyLumber.com or 2 locations, Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. Kevin Griffin in with us for the first half of the show, started talking a little baseball. We'll get back into that. Basketball, I know you're a big basketball guy. This is where it really starts to get fun. You can really, I think, start looking at bracketology, and it's it has some meat. Like there's some trust in what they're saying. So like right now, if you look at Jerry Palm's bracketology, he has the 1 seeds as UConn, Purdue, Arizona, and Houston. He's got, and you look at the SEC teams, because a lot of people talk about how many SEC teams are going to get into the bracket. Well, just based on this, he's got Texas A&M in a play-in game. That's the 1 SEC team. So that would be 1 team, South Carolina as a 6 seed, without going through which one. South Carolina is a 6 seed, Tennessee a 2 seed. He's got, let's see here, looking through the West, Mississippi State is a 10 seed. Kentucky is a 6 seed. Also, Ole Miss is a 10 seed. Alabama a 3 seed. Auburn a 5 seed. Florida an 8 seed. So that's typically 7, 8, 9. How many do you think SEC is going to get in?
I think 8 or 9 will get in. It's a pretty strong year across the board. Everybody's beating up on everybody, and even Kentucky is being as good as they are. They have question marks. People say they don't play defense, but then they went to Auburn and gave Auburn their first home loss was that 2 days ago. So there's a lot of teams that can make some noise in the SEC for sure.
Yeah, I'm looking at 6 and then 7, 8, 9. Yeah, 9. That counts Texas A&M in the playing game. Do you think they'll – and they've talked about this, twofold question. Do you think they will expand this field even further, and do they really need to?
I don't think they need to. You have some really good first-round games at times, but there's not many upsets, maybe 3 or 4 per round, day 1, day 2. And, you always see somebody get beat that's not supposed to lose, but I just think at 64 now, it's 68 teams.
Yep.
That's just plenty. I mean, you can narrow that down to 32 and figure out who the top 32 teams in the country are.
More Bully says, hey, Notre Dame has, first he said his last time he coached rec ball, he went undefeated. So there's that. It says Notre Dame has proven they can be independent. Is that not an option for these teams, especially Miami as a private institution? I don't think so. I mean, teams have tried this. Do you remember when Texas, at one point, they were talking about, this was back, it was almost like they were Florida State is now. They didn't want to be in the Big 12. They started the Longhorn Network. They flirted big time with the Pac-12. Mm-hmm. They talked about being an independent. They never made that move. Like them or not, Notre Dame is about the only one. Now, obviously, UMass is independent. UConn goes in and out of conferences, it seems like. They're an independent, but to really be a true independent power, it looks like because of the brand and the national notoriety for Notre Dame, they're about the only one that can pull that off.
Yeah, I think so, and they've done it for so long. It's not like had Texas been doing that, then I think that it would have been no problem for them to continue. Notre Dame's been doing it for so long, and the money contract and the TV deal that they have with NBC and I guess now Peacock is just too lucrative for them to jump into a conference. They're going to have to share the money with 10 other schools instead of getting it all to themselves.
There may be at some point, and it may be 10 years from now, we may not even be alive, but at some point they may have to get into a conference. But I think right now they have the sweetest deal that's out there. I mean, they can play conference, games inside the ACC in all the sports. They play basically an ACC football schedule with mixing in their rivals against USC and Stanford and a couple of the military institutions. But if Notre Dame gets to 10 wins this year, they're likely in the playoff. I mean, whereas they were in a conference, they may not be.
Yeah, and they'd have to play that conference championship game and risk getting a loss added to their record. I think that's one thing that has hurt a lot of teams over the years that had to play in a conference championship game. They go in expecting to win, and all of a sudden they lose, and now they're out of everything.
601-897-1059 if you want to give us a call. That is the Malone Roofing caller line. Alabama officially announces the hire of former South Alabama coach Kane Womack as the Tide's new defensive coordinator and inside linebackers coach. Also, Arizona announces hiring Missouri Athletics Director Desiree Reed Francois as the new athletics director. Also, it's set Big 12 Media Days will be in Las Vegas this year, July 9th and 10th. How much pressure do you think is really on Kalen DeBoer this year?
Well, everybody says it's hard to follow the legend. And if you look, you can look at that one of two ways. You can look at it, oh my gosh, I've got to follow the legend, or, hey, nobody's expecting a whole lot out of me. I think you could kind of creep in the back door and have a really good first year or first 2 years by having that type of mentality. People aren't expecting a whole lot out of him because they've seen so much out of Nick Saban over the years. I think he's in a really good situation.
I think it is. What would you think if I told you, Beav, Alabama's going to go 8-4 this year? 8-4. They're going to slip to 8-4. Would that sound alarm bells in Tuscaloosa?
Absolutely. I mean, there's no question about it. If an Alabama team loses 4 games after having the decade that they've had, yeah, it's going to always sound the alarm bells, but I almost think that people expect that right now. They think the world is ending because Nick Saban's not going to be there. I think DeBoer is a very good college football coach.
Oh, there's no doubt that he is a heck of a coach, but you get off into the transfer portal churn, 25, 26 guys this cycle, 22, 23 guys last cycle, and they did not replace half of those guys. The NFL attrition, the questions on the coaching staff, also when you talk about the, what is he going to do with Jalen Milroe? Now, I think Nick Saban and that staff did a great job with him last year. Is DeBoer going to adapt his system to what he does, or will he expect him to? So there's a lot of questions. And then your guy, Kirby Smart, that's his first SEC ball game in Tuscaloosa, 3 or 4 weeks into the season. You know how Kirby is. I could see that where Kirby's like, yeah, we're going to welcome this guy to the SEC. You know, I don't know that Georgia will need any motivation for that.
No, they won't have any motivation, even especially after getting beat and knocked out of the playoff by Alabama this past year. But I think DeBoer better adapt to his personnel rather than trying to make his personnel adapt to him, because Jalen Milroe finished with a boom. I mean, he had a great ending to last year, and he showed that he can throw the football. He can obviously do it with his feet as well, but I understand DeBoer just spread it out 5 wide and threw it all over the field. At Washington, I don't think that he's going to be able to do that at Alabama. Not against SEC defenses that can pin their ears back and they can blitz from all different angles, and their quarterback will be laying on his back if they do that in the SEC.
Real quickly, Ross Dellinger reports earlier today, power programs equipped with NIL cash are poaching a group of 5 rosters out of scholarships. Some add walk-ons, while collectives cover tuition. The widening gap, G5P4, could spell a very disastrous future. I want to get into that with you because I know that you are well in-depth to the transfer portal and everything going on, but I do want to talk more about, because you hear this, you see, for instance, teams – Mississippi State picks up a big wide receiver this past recruiting cycle from UTEP. Ole Miss picked up a big one last year from Louisiana Tech. Are the group of 5 teams becoming, I hate to say this, feeder programs? Feeder programs. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, you have a great year, you can expect players to be gone. And I think as a coach at that level, it's almost expected under those circumstances, especially the quarterback position, most important position on the field, right? So if your quarterback has a great year, then you can expect him to be gone unless he's graduating. Same thing with these receivers that Ole Miss and State and all these other SEC schools are picking up. They're talented players, but it took them going to a mid-major to get their name out there and put up numbers. There's no guarantee that they'll move to an SEC school and still be able to put out numbers. They could lose stock by making that change. Look at the kid who was the kid that left Missouri and went to Georgia, Lovett?
Yes.
This past year. And he was not really a factor for them at Georgia, and he put up SEC leading numbers at Missouri. You almost think that he should have stayed put because he would have probably still been at the top of the nation in receiving yards if he'd have just stayed at Missouri. He went to Georgia, and he was just lost in the shuffle.
It's a great question, and we'll continue that. I got to take a timeout. We're brought to you by Ashley Howie, Crowlake Realtors, 769-226-3782, facebook.com/Ashley Howie Realtor. If you're looking to buy, sell, or relocate, back in a bit.
And action!
We got that and a whole lot more around here. It's the Afternoon Drive with Jake Wimberly.
What's the score?
He's got that, along with the hottest sports stories of the day on ESPN 105.9 The Zone and online at thezone1059.com.
Truck Month at Mack Hike Madison Gluckstadt, Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram and Chevy Madison Gluckstadt. Online at mackhikemadison.com. On site, new and used inventory as you move through February and into March. Truck Month, go take advantage of 0% financing on several items. Ask about rates and, of course, the financing. mackhikemadison.com, on site and online. Inside the Ameristar Casino Studios on a Monday, we'll have Doug Kyle at 5:15 talking some more college baseball. Kevin Griffin in with us till 4:30. Let's see here. RT says that More Bully was undefeated because he hijacked the birth certificates and basically was a church league. So I tell you what, those church leagues can get crazy competitive. In basketball, baseball, softball, I mean, just wild.
They can. I mean, they're more wild than a lot of city leagues sometimes. And church league's supposed to be like
church league.
Calm, right?
Yeah.
It's not usually that way.
No, I remember, gosh, this was back early 2000s. We were playing in a church league softball league over at Center City in Pearl. And everybody, and this is not me being sacrilegious at all, I'm just telling you what happened. Met, prayed before the game, about halfway through the game, had to break 5 or 6 people. I mean, like, it became fisticuffs was about to be thrown. So it's just wild.
I've seen it. I've seen it a lot. And you talk about opening up the middle. in slow pitch softball where people start talking trash, and all of a sudden people decide they want to just start hitting it back up the middle at the pitcher.
Yeah.
Pitcher throws it and starts running backwards to second base as fast as they can.
Yep.
I've seen pitchers get hit right in the chest and the shins, and it's a dangerous sport when it's bad to say, when church people get together sometimes and play church league softball. It's even worse in city league, especially after they've sat around a parking lot and drank all day, and now all of a sudden they're mad and start hitting the pitcher with every swing they take. It's not fun to be the pitcher, I would imagine. I wouldn't do it.
Beav, you want to be a pitcher in a slow pitch team? If we get a team together, put you out on the bump.
These days they wear face masks, they wear shin guards and chest protectors, and they look like a hockey goalie.
I don't blame them.
I don't either.
Because you're not coming with any kind of heat, no kind of stuff. You're there.
Well, the bats are hotter now. The balls are harder, hot, and they just, I don't know. All the equipment is much better than it was 10, 15, 20 years ago.
All right, so how's things been for you guys? Obviously we'll hit it at a high level. 10,000 foot. Connor continues to. I saw a lot of the stuff that you put out on social media. He looks like he is in rare form early. Just crushing the baseball, playing well. But I know this has been a very, not chaotic, but maybe a little chaotic, but hectic time for you guys.
Yeah, it's. We thought when he made his decision not this past December, but over a year ago, to go to LSU, that things would slow down, and it did with the colleges. But then it picked up a lot with the professional side of things and all the scouts that show up. We had almost 60 scouts at a high school baseball game last week, and they're pretty respectful. They come in, they speak before the game to Connor, and Connor speaks to them, and then he's just learned to take it in stride and not worry about who's there to watch. Just keep it a kid's game and just play the game that he loves. And so, yeah, it's been a whirlwind from that regard. And, he got a chance to go to Taiwan. I was able to make that trip with him.
How was that?
Last year. Man, it's awesome. Just to see how passionate other countries are about baseball. I'm not sure that we're the best baseball country in the world here in the United States. I'll just be honest. I mean, Japan and Chinese Taipei and over in Taiwan, those players, they are dedicated, passionate about it. They have their rituals that they go through on a daily basis. You don't see bat flips and not hustling out ground balls and stuff like that here. They just appreciate the game a little bit more, and I think we could learn a lot from them.
That's interesting to hear you. Now, obviously, we know baseball is a worldwide sport to some degree, especially when you start looking at the major league rosters and where guys are coming from around the world. But to hear you say that, so I didn't know that it was that discipline over there. Do you know if they have, for instance, here we have tournament teams, we have places you can go play as a young. Do they have those type of what is their setup like?
They have academies in those places where they go train more than they play, and I think that's a lost thing here in the United States. Is every weekend it seems like everybody's jumping in a car and they're driving 2 states away to play tournaments. Well, I'll be honest with you, tournament baseball, travel baseball, there's no development in travel baseball once you get to the 14, 15, 16-year-old ages. You just show up on the weekend and you meet your teammates. Sometimes you don't even know who they are. You meet them and they roll the ball out and you play. There's not any development going on. All the development happens at 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 with your local teams and coaches who take the time to develop those players at a young age. That's where they get developed.
So they have academies that they basically they may play some games, but it's more like you come in and you're just developing on reps, developing on technique.
Yeah, they may come in the summer when school's out and then stay there for a week, and it might be an all-day thing where they just get repetitions and reps and coaching, and they're regimented. Every one of them, basically, they'll stand the same way in the box. They have their same stance, and it's taught. And you can tell that it's a developed skill over there in Japan and in Taiwan, where they're here, everybody does everything differently. And there's no rhyme or reason sometimes for the way that we do things over here, but you could tell it's very regimented over there.
Speaking of no rhyme or reason, let's go to More Bully. More Bully, welcome in.
I have a rhyme and a reason right now.
What you got? What's going on?
I have a question. So, Kevin, you said that the bats are hotter now.
Slightly.
Wasn't it like 10 years ago where they were trying to make them not as hot in college baseball?
Yeah, I think
Did that go away?
I think they've toned them down in college, but at the youth levels, they're still making them hot. And the unfortunate part about it is the fact that people cheat and they'll roll the bats and they get away with it, and then they brag about it. You hear it every time you go to a tournament on the weekend about, well, I rolled this bat or I did this to a bat, thinned it out. And I think that's why I say that bats are hotter now, because the technology is out there to make them hotter. And
it's just like
it's illegal. But, yeah, that's right. That's right. And it's unfortunate because people are trying to make the game safer, especially when kids are throwing from 40 and 45 feet. That's close for a baseball to come back off of a trampoline, basically. And I just think that that's why I say that they're hotter now than they were 10 years ago.
Gotcha. Well, is BB core still a thing?
It is. Okay. It is. You have to use BB core in high school and college.
Okay, gotcha. And just to say about Beaver pitching softball wouldn't get anywhere near Beaver. He'd scare it off. Trust me.
Probably
just look at his calves, man.
That's right.
I'm telling you.
No, I think you're right.
His calves are the best I've seen combined.
Well done.
Later.
See ya. So he likes your calves better than Chris Brooks's calves. That's impressive. You should take that as a compliment. He does. Hey, we're brought to you by A1 Gear and Auto, your hometown vehicle specialist. They've been around for 15 plus years. 49 South, right as you get into Florence, on the right if you're going southbound, 601-939-1060. Anything under the hood, air conditioners, your heat, water pumps, anything on the back end, 601-939-1060. Hour 2 coming up next.
The number you have reached.
WRKS Pickens Jackson. From college football to the NFL to high school football. 365 days a year. Hear it all on Jackson Sports Authority. Live and local at 105.9 The Zone and online at thezone1059.com. Now let's get back to the afternoon drive with Jake Wimberly.
Hour 2 starts right now, courtesy of Mississippi Legends Grill. Bingo, trivia. Kids eat free on Thursdays. Everybody knows your name at Mississippi Legends Grill. Corner of Castlewoods Drive and Lakeland Drive. Get out and enjoy. Get the lunch special of the day on Facebook.com/Mississippi Legends Grill and enjoy. 601-885-3776. That is the Cowboy Maloney's text line. Make your house a home today with Cowboy Maloney's. 13 locations around the state of Mississippi. Online at cowboymaloney's.com. Kevin Griffin in with us for another 30 minutes. We were just sitting here talking about just y'all's schedule and, talking also about you guys going to Taiwan. I would assume, obviously you love all this. I'm sure everything's great, but whatever settles out, you're going to take a vacation? Get out here and breathe a minute, huh?
Yeah, and it's a blessing for Connor to be in the situation that he's in, so we don't ever want to take it for granted.
Sure.
For sure. But the main thing that he wants is he never wants this to be a distraction to his high school team. And so that's why we've kind of cut out all the MLB teams that want to come in with their front offices and do private workouts. We've kind of put a stop to all that until the end of the high school season. We'll have 2 months between the end of the high school season and the draft for those guys to come in, and then we'll have decisions to make. Do you go to college or do you sign and if you're fortunate enough to get drafted? So the main thing is that it's not a distraction to the other guys, and I've really seen the other kids at prep kind of step their game up a little bit with all the scouts coming in. We've had anywhere from 30 to 55 or 60 just about any given game, and you can see these other boys on the team stepping their game up and working a little bit harder and And I think that's good for the team. I think it's good for Jackson Prep, and it's good for the community. So that's what it's all about. While the focus is on Connor, he's enjoying the fact that these other kids are getting to experience this as well.
And you mentioned you felt like, and I think a lot of people would echo this, there is some really good untapped talent here in Central Mississippi in baseball.
Oh, absolutely. You've got even the guys that play Jackson Prep with Connor, Trey Bryant, Peyton Puckett, guys like that. But then you look at Lieutenant Gardner Young at Prep, throws 90 miles an hour as a junior. He's going to be recruited by just about everybody. Got a kid that I think is completely overlooked. He signed with Pearl River Community College, Jackson Hood out of Germantown. I'm telling you, that kid can play. He is one of the most talented baseball players that I've seen come through here in a long time. And I'm not sure he'll end up at Pearl River. I think some big 4-year is going to come and scoop him up before it's all said and done, and he'll have an opportunity. Walker Hooks, pitcher at Brandon High School, is legit. He could be a day one guy this year in the draft. So there's a lot of talent right here in the metro area for sure. Chase Russell at Madison Central, he's another one. He's going to Southern Miss, but he could be a draftable guy come July.
Wow, that's impressive. So, you talk about draftable guys day one. I mean, that's decisions that guys and their families have to make, right?
Yeah, I mean, you have to decide, what path you want to take. You can't go wrong with either decision, going and playing in SEC environments every single night or go ahead and start your pro career. The biggest thing is how young Connor is. I mean, if he were to sign, he would have a chance to potentially go through the minor leagues and hopefully get to the big leagues at a younger age. And then you get to arbitration earlier, you get to free agency at a young age. And I think that's why a lot of high school kids end up signing. But you don't want to do it if you don't have a shot. And people don't foresee you making a run through the minor leagues fairly quickly. Otherwise, you go to college in a place like LSU and get developed by the coaches that they have there, or go to Ole Miss or Mississippi State and get developed by those great coaches that are here in the state. So, yeah, it's decisions that will have to be made, but right now he's just trying to enjoy his senior year of high school and help Jackson Prep win that 7th straight state championship. Let
me ask you this. Let's go back to the kind of move this whole back to, and you could say baseball too. We were talking about Ross Dellinger reporting that power programs equipped with NIL and cash are poaching Group of 5 rosters. We know that. I mean, that's happening. Just look at what Cameron Ward did. He went to Incarnate Word as a quarterback, kind of under the radar, had a really good 2 years. Washington State picks him up. Then he goes from there, flirts with the NFL. Now he's at Miami for a final year. So he made that kind of 3-tiered jump to big-time college football. We know Trey Harris come from Louisiana Tech, blew up last year at Ole Miss. I mean, you can go. Makai Polk a couple of years ago, Washington State to Mississippi State, had a fantastic year. So, do you think privately, and there's no way to know this, but I just wonder this. So, for instance, Alabama. We'll take the state of Alabama. Alabama and Auburn go to UAB, and they go to South Alabama, and they go to Troy, and say, "Look, privately, wink, wink, we'll send you some recruits maybe that interested. We don't think that's ready yet, but they'll bolster at your place. But to maybe where there's a quote wink deal to where you are our feeder program. Does that make sense? What I'm saying?
Yeah, it's you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours type deal within programs. And I think it's been going on for a long time. I think mid majors have almost been like junior colleges for some of the Power Fives. Hey, I'll push players your way if in 2 years or a year you'll send them back to me. I think a lot of that's been going on even before NIL even came into play. And, the football money with NIL is just crazy. I mean, baseball can't touch that. It's not even close. But when you start talking about these mid-majors having players leave after great years and go to these Power Fives, it's a business decision and it's a financial transaction when it comes down to it.
So does it make it, because, we've talked about this before, you take a high school football player in the state of Mississippi who is what I would consider a fringe player, meaning 5-10 years ago, State, Ole Miss, Southern Miss, anybody would have taken taken a chance on the last 24, 25, 26, 27 in that recruiting cycle. Now they're holding that for transfer guys, so that drops them down a level. It makes the junior college level even more competitive. But for baseball, which the transfer portal is being worked as well. So is it baseball? Is it football? Is it basketball now that the guys have the hardest hill to climb?
I think it's baseball, just sheer numbers. And I think it hurts the high school kids more than it hurts anyone. High school kids that could have potentially gone to a 4-year school, now all of a sudden they're going to a junior college, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with going junior colleges in this state, as good as the baseball programs are. But if there's so much attrition and I guess holdover in these junior college programs where they're not sending players on to the 4-year level, it's a logjam. And these high school kids are getting there, and now instead of getting on the field right away as a freshman, now they're having to sit a year, and then you don't know what's going to happen in year 2. You might have to sit for 2 years and then have to fend for yourself to find a 4-year school to go to. So I think it hurts baseball more than any sport out there, just from the standpoint of sheer numbers or a lack of opportunity because of log jams in these programs.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, the sheer numbers. I mean, just look at any baseball field from perfect game to U-Trip. There's so many baseball players now and guys that are pretty good and want to compete. This just makes it even harder to make that jump from high school, tournament team to high school to the next level. You got to be pretty dang good.
Yeah, and well, people used to say if you want to play college baseball, there's always a spot for you. You can always go to a junior college. There's so many junior colleges, and that's not the case anymore. There's not a spot for everybody anymore. I bet, I don't know what the number is, I'd say less than 2% of high school baseball players in America have the opportunity to move on and play at the collegiate level just because of the problems that we're talking about.
601-885-3776. That is the Cowboy Maloney's text line. Let's see here real quickly. Ross Dellinger reports also on college football in a memo sent to his athletic directors, the MAC conference commissioner, John Steinbrecher, a college football playoff management committee member, says reports of the college football playoff agreeing to TV deals are incorrect, that they will be reviewing those this week. Last week there was a report out that they had reached the deal with ESPN for an extension. We'll get off into that. Also, speaking of contracts and people that's going to get paid, Chris Jones, the Chiefs have agreed or picked up an option for all-pro defensive tackle Chris Jones' contract, retaining the rights to franchise tag him to pay him $4.25 million earned in incentives, and then of course they'll have that renegotiation. He's going to make big money.
That's a good decision for the Chiefs because they are not the same team defensively without Chris Jones, and I think that was in their best interest to go ahead and give him what he wanted.
There is no doubt about it. We're brought to you by Janney King. They are the king of cleans. Go to JanneyKingClean.com. Let them help you through the year. Keep your place of business, worship, house of worship, also medical facilities, schools, buildings, and more clean and up to a T. You can go to JanneyKingCleans.com. Timeout on the floor. Back with more in just a bit.
Turning to sports. With Jake Wimberly on the afternoon drive.
One of the last pure pleasures I have left in my life.
Yeah, maybe you ought to get a life first, okay? On ESPN 105.9 The Zone and online at thezone1059.com.
Brought to you by Waze Energy Drinks. 4 great flavors to get your hands on. Respond, revive, engage, and rescue. Go to WazeEnergy.com to learn more information today. Also, Facebook.com/Wage Energy to get the interactive map. And, of course, a portion of the proceeds support the Gary Sinise Foundation, a great zero-sugar, high-caffeine drink. Kevin Griffin in with us one more segment as it's off to baseball obligations for the other kids.
Yeah, my youngest actually has 9th grade games tonight at Ridgeland High School, so 5 o'clock and 7 o'clock. It's probably going to have the temperature start dropping in about an hour. So I've got plenty of clothing.
Very good.
I'll bundle up.
601-885-3776. That is the Cowboy Maloney's text line. We're brought to you by Maristar Casino. Miko says, hey, I missed the topic on travel ball. Wondering if the best option is to go to prospect ID camps rather than those non-developmental tournaments where coaches typically make false promises.
Absolutely. I think that going to camps, not really the prospect ID, well, you may be on the same page with me, just calling it something different, but I think it's important to go to camps on college campuses. Get in front of those coaches. You can develop relationships that way at a young age. And also at those camps, it's not just like, let's say if you go to an Ole Miss camp, it's not just Ole Miss coaches who are going to be there. You're going to have Division II coaches, junior college coaches, D3 coaches. You'll have coaches from all different levels there seeing you. And so you're not just seen by the Ole Miss staff, you're seen by a lot of different schools as well. And I think that is the number one best thing for players to do. If you're going to spend money going to play in week-long tournaments, save it and spend that same money going to really good camps on college campuses.
No, that's a great way to put it, because like you said, at some point you're going to get to be at any kid where if you're just doing tournament ball on the weekends or all you're doing is playing, so you're not developing, right?
I've seen even full teams that have taken their entire 12 or 13-year-old team to a college campus and took their whole team to the camp. And I think that's great. I feel like it's one of those situations where, if you have a team that's going to go play in, let's say, Hoover, Alabama, they have week-long tournaments where you go play one game a day. You might go spend $5,000 in 1 week, and that tournament might be during a dead period that nobody's going to see you anyway. Why go? There's no reason other than to go see competition. And you can get that even locally as long as you're seeing pitches and things like that. You don't have to spend the money and go travel all over the country to get noticed. If you're good enough, they'll find you. And I just am a big proponent of those college camps.
Let's see here.
The other thing I'll say that somebody told me one time, you go to all these exposure tournaments and play big tournaments, at some point too much exposure and you're going to get exposed. So take it or leave it. I'd rather not be exposed.
No, absolutely. Bill says, I just tuned in. I don't know who your guest is. Kevin Griffin, head softball coach at Belhaven and associate AD. Did I say that right?
That's
associate. Right. So he says, but I 100% agree. My son is a freshman, and we've been to just about every kind of camp out there. The prospect ID camps have never been impressive. In fact, some have been a complete waste of my money. In my opinion, the best camp to go to, in his opinion, is the on-campus camps. Which basically he's agreeing with everything.
Yeah, there's a guy here locally that works with PBR. Matt Miller is the state director of PBR. I think he does a really good job of being in it for the kid. If he says he's going to do something and get a kid's name out there, he usually does it. So I really like what he does. But I just always had a problem. And again, I'm not just a parent. I coach for a living. So I have a different take on it. I always had a problem taking my kids to a prospect ID camp for them to tell me metrics and numbers that I already knew, because I have the technology myself to be able to know those things. So why am I going to pay money for somebody else to go tell me these things? That's why we never did it. Connor went to his first showcase this past summer, and it's because he just wanted to go experience it and play in a major league ballpark in the PG National event. So, yeah, that's the first one we ever did.
Olivier says the most important thing about travel ball and all the 12 and 13-year-olds is the kids having fun. The rest of that is for the adults. We do, I think, lose sight, and we'll throw us all in here together for a minute, about the kids having fun, especially at a young age, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I can remember back to our 8U travel ball days. We had, and I said this on a podcast the other day, it's stupid to even say it, but it was the best 8U travel team I've ever seen.
Right.
It's not supposed to be about winning and losing, but we cared about, developing, and you wanted to win. And it's no fun not winning, right? We were like, I want to say 85 or 90-3 over 2 years with that 8U and 9U team. Well, it busted up because the parents came in after we won a World Series one year, and they wanted to practice 2 and 3 times a week. Well, we were practicing 1 time a week, and we were still developing these kids, but they wanted a paid coach. Even though I was a paid coach, I just got paid somewhere else, right? I volunteered my time to coach the little team. They wanted a paid coach and practice 2 to 3 times a week with 8-year-olds. And I said, y'all can knock yourself out. We're busting this thing up right now. And that team busted up, and I only think maybe 3 of those kids even play baseball today. And it was because parents ruined it for the kids.
Wow. And, you hear stories very similar to that along the way. And, I tie it back into what you were talking about, your trip to Taiwan, is that it almost speak for you, but it sounds like it was kind of an eye-opening experience to see how selfless those teams and those players are over there versus what goes on over here. Well,
absolutely. And even within the Team USA dynamic, they were still in travel ball mode. And you could tell that those kids were still in showcase mode, and it was a selfish team for the most part. And I think that's why they didn't go over there and do as well as what they would have liked, because they never had that team chemistry and togetherness, because they were still in that exposure, travel, showcase mode when they went over there.
Let's see here. Let's go to Real C. Collins on line 47. Real C, welcome in.
Well, I have a disagreement with Kevin and the world's greatest 8-year-old baseball team, because we were told that was Bo Bounds' team at one point in time until we throttled his ass as a pair of 7-year-old teams.
Wow. I have no knowledge of what you speak of. That's good stuff there, though.
Tell him, Kev.
I plead the fifth.
He ain't going to say it. Anyhow.
It's 8U baseball. That's all I'll say.
Exactly. Now, Kevin's absolutely right. The problem that people have with tournament coaches or these teams that have multiple teams and age groups and that's a money. There's zero. The only thing being benefited there is the organization's egos that are running the things. If you want your child to be a better baseball player, you've got to put in a lot of work, time, and effort and seek out the help that they need to become better baseball players, because you're not going to get it from a weekend coach. They don't have enough time to dedicate to sit there and develop a player for you. I mean, they've got 12 kids. They don't have that much time. There's no way. But I can tell you what they can do is they can manage talent to the point that they can carry a big trophy home in their truck on the way home after the weekend. And that is the goal for tournament baseball. And if anybody cares to dispute that, well, you can dispute it all you want to. You're wrong. Anyhow, I just wanted to pop in and say hey to my buddy Kevin. And, he talks a lot of trash about slow pitch softballs because he couldn't hit one. But anyhow, that's a story for another day too.
Real C, appreciate it, brother. Thank you, man.
Yeah, I mean, he's right. It's a money grab a lot of times with a lot of organizations, and there are good people in all of them. There's some good people running them, and then there's people that it's all about the money, and that's the unfortunate. It's become big business.
Oh, there's no doubt.
Big business. Had you and I thought of this 10 or 15 years ago, we wouldn't be sitting in a radio room.
No, you're right. You're absolutely
no doubt.
Right. Hey, any parting words? I know you got to get to baseball.
No, I just encourage people out there that have kids that play sports, whether it be high school or travel ball, let them be kids. And if something like what has happened with Connor's situation ends up happening, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. And they find talent. People out there will come and track you down, and they'll follow you, and word will get out. But don't take the fun out of the game, and don't take the kid out of your kid, because I'm not looking forward to this time next year where my son's not even going to be in my house because he could be either in Baton Rouge or on the other side of the country playing baseball somewhere. So that part as a dad, I'm not looking forward to. So hang on tight to him as long as you can.
Kevin, hey, best of luck. Take a jacket. I know you guys are about to head up north for 6 weeks, right?
Yeah, Illinois.
So we'll visit with you when you get back. Appreciate you, brother.
Will do.
Thanks so much. Kevin Griffin in studio. We got to take a timeout. We're brought to you by Clinton Body Shop. 2 locations, Clinton and Richland, OEM factory certified. All the manufacturers you trust. 601-924-2159. Back in a bit.
It's time to get
Back in the game.
with Jake Wimberly and the Afternoon Drive
That's entertainment.
on the station that specializes in the Mississippi sports you love.
Now we're talking.
Live and local on ESPN 105.9 The Zone and online at thezone1059.com.
Brought to you by Cowboy Maloney, 70 years in the business, Mississippi owned and operated, largest appliance inventory in the state. That is cowboymaloney's.com. We're also brought to you by Ameristar Casino. Get out and play today. Appreciate Kevin Griffin jumping in for an hour and a half. We'll have Doug Kyle coming up at 5. Some more college baseball as we move along here. Let's see here real quickly. Miko, Kevin is absolutely correct in his last statement. Hang on tight. Also, dog-tired Florence. Nothing more enjoyable than picking up a pickup church league softball game with a pastor pitching both ways and leaving your gloves in the field for the opponent position player. Also, 13U baseball can be fun. Taking a peek at the high-end competition in the stands. Wink, wink. And unnamed texter, we did the travel, and we practiced one time per week. They kept playing together from 7th grade through high school, and in the end, 50% got college scholarship offers. No paid special coaches, best of all, we had no professional wannabe parents. So teach the kids, but let them have fun and enjoy it. So that is from an unnamed texter. And absolutely right. So some good stuff there as well. All right, let me jump back over here and grab some more notes along the way. Let's see here. First off, we'll get into here in a bit. There's the 2024 spring practice and scrimmage dates across college football have been announced. So we'll get into that list, kind of let you know when practice starts for spring and, of course, scrimmage. Also, we went through some bracketology. Bill Bender, sportingnews.com, Field of 68 2.0 is here. I put that out on X. So what happens if Gonzaga and FAU are both at large bids, that and more. Also, Brad Crawford ranks college football's top quarterback rooms entering spring practice. We'll get into some of those rooms as we move through the rest of the show. And 247sports.com has several things out there to look at that we'll peek into. Oregon's quarterback room, Texas skill group. We've talked about that over the last few weeks. Colorado's transfer class, Notre Dame's QB1, and the Will Rogers situation in Washington and what's going on there. Also, details of Steve Sarkisian's contract extension reveals Sark will be paid $10.3 million in 2024, with his salary increasing by $100,000 yearly through 2030. And details on the extension, plus info and updates on Jeff Banks, Kyle Flood, and Pete Kowalski as well. The one-on-one with SMU head coach Rhett Lashley. You know, SMU makes the move from the AAC to the ACC. The Mustangs had their best season in 2023 since the days of Eric Dickerson and Craig James. Now they're moved to the ACC. Has the Pony Express eyeing a kind of a reconnaissance of sorts that we'll get into. College basketball, AP Top 25 coming into the week. UConn number 1. Also Houston at number 2, Purdue number 3, followed by Arizona, Tennessee, Iowa State, Marquette, Duke, Kansas, and North Carolina. That's your top 10. Alabama checks in at 13, Auburn 14, Kentucky 17, South Carolina at 20, also Florida at 24. Some notables there in the AP Top 25. And again, Chris Jones, the Chiefs have picked up the option on all-pro defensive tackle Chris Jones' contract, retaining the rights to franchise tag him and paying him $4.25 million. He earned in incentives. It was more timing than anything, as Jones was due the money regardless. If he tagged, if not tagged, he would be free. So they tag him up there as well. You can always call us 601-885 or 897-1059. That is the Malone Roofing caller line. All right, so also we got a story out here, quarterbacks on the market in the NFL, top players, projected contracts, and best fits for teams that we'll get into. And as a matter of fact, we'll get into some of that right now. When you start talking about free agent contracts on the list. So they list these as several tiers of free agent quarterbacks. We'll go through some of these honorable mentions as they put here first, the first honorable mention list. Before listing their top 10 quarterbacks likely available this offseason, these signal callers could be useful adds for any teams in need of upgrade or adding depth. The first one is Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold, the journeyman, so to speak, is following the Mitch Trubisky path. Former top 3 pick with underrated mobility, seeking a potential summer competition after accepting a backup role from a contender. Some tools remain even if the resume is lacking. Beaver, where's Sam Darnold going to go? I thought the San Francisco deal was going to work out for him, but where does he land, and maybe does he get picked back up by the 49ers? Or where would you put him? Josh Dobbs, another guy. The Vikings, remember he had that stretch run about 4 weeks where he moved through. He's proven surprisingly, that he can manage a game at a moment's notice, briefly flashing as a dual threat with multiple teams in 2023. But his decision-making tends to get more dicey the longer he stays under center. Tyler Huntley for the Ravens has a Pro Bowl nod on his resume for a brief playoff run in place of Lamar Jackson back in 2022, but he's been more effective as a scrambler than a do-it-all quarterback. So he'll be on the market. Marcus Mariota, again, some of these are guys that have moved from place to place with the Eagles, can still fly on the ground, and his 74 games of starting experience qualify him for a top backup job. But he's now on track for his 4th team in as many years, struggling to find a rhythm through the air. Mason Rudolph with the Steelers, he'll be on the market, and still unexpected precision passing authority late in 2023, but has been, just passable in extended action over 6 years as a number 2 or 3 guy in Pittsburgh. He's destined for another reserve role. When you look at the top 10 here that we'll get into, Drew Lock is number 10 on this list. Real quick, CWR says, Jake, saying that SMU is doing reconnaissance as they move to the ACC in order to have a renaissance of the Pony Express, the English language would win again. Hey, I butchered that totally, but I flew right by. But he knew what I said. Now, would you like to cherry pick my words here? I know you love to do that.
Oh, you didn't see me laughing over here.
No,
I knew exactly what you did.
Totally read the word wrong.
What a dummy.
Hey, it happens, man. It happens. Just words. Some days words. See, but he knew what I meant.
Wait, you read the word? I thought you were using your own words.
No, read it wrong.
Well, that's even worse, Jake.
Hey, it's Monday. So at least I'm good for one a day. Maybe two. Drew Lock is on this list at number 10. His 6th season, current team with the Seahawks, he's 27. Former second-round pick, hasn't posted a winning record as a starter since 2019, his rookie year with the Broncos. He's still got big play moxie, or at least some figure that he does. Above average arm, and has shown in 2 starts for the injured Geno Smith in 2023. Projected value, $4 to $5 million. Best team fits Bears, Bills, Raiders, Rams. Now, this doesn't mean that he would go be a starter, but he could compete for the job or be a, quote, quality backup. And we'll get into 9 through 1 as we move along. We're brought to you by the MHSA, officially become official today. Go to MISSHSA.com to learn more. 601-924-6400. Become an official. Earn money, stay in shape, give back to the community with the MHSA. Back in a bit.
Ladies and gentlemen, the time has come to go
Back to the afternoon drive with Jake Wimberly. The hottest sports stories of the day.
For one of those moments, it only happens
Right here.
On ESPN 105.9 The Zone and online at thezone1059.com.
RT says the Mustangs are back, gold Trans Ams, all kinds of stuff at SMU. That is 100% correct. We're brought to you by Matt and the MT Insurance Group. Hey, call for a quote today. Auto, home, and business in 2024, 601-594-3540. That's 601-594-3540. Contact Matt and the MT Insurance Group today. All right, we'll have Doug Kyle, 5:15. We'll talk some more college baseball. Let's see, CWR. What a dummy. Beeve bringing the fire. This is why I love listening to this show. Well, it's checks and balances, right? I mean, Beeve's going to keep me checked. I try to keep him checked. And we stay unchecked, but we try to check, right? It's kind of what it is. Tyrod Taylor. We're talking about best options, courtesy of CBSSports.com. Went through several of these honorable mention quarterbacks, where they may land. You know, a lot of these guys are going to resurface. You know, it's kind of like we always said, once you get in the club, you're in the club. So until you just get pushed out. But the Sam Darnolds, Josh Dobbs, Tyler Huntley's, Marcus Mariota's, Mason Rudolph's, where do they go? Drew Lock, number 10 on this list. Number 9, Tyrod Taylor. It's hard to believe he's played 14 seasons in the NFL. It's hard to believe he's been in the league that long. Current team with the Giants. But he is probably going to be on the move again. We'll see if somebody picks him up. Number 8, Joe Flacco, 17 years. I did not know that he had been in the league. Did you know he's in the league that long? Golly, 17 years?
Yeah, I think it was 2008 draft. That's crazy to think about.
His projected value, $4 to $5 million. Best team fits: Browns, Chargers, Jets, and Patriots. Tyrod Taylor, his best fits, or said, "Hey, look, the Browns, they need to bring him back." Or excuse me, best fits: Colts, Bears, Commanders, or Jets. And you know, this again is where their fits, and it fits could be maybe they compete for a starting job, maybe they're number 2 in line. Number 7, man of increase, Jameis Winston, number 7. 30. It's hard to believe he's been in the league 10 years, but he has been in the league 10 years. Reports indicate a recent contract restructure will likely have the charismatic backup on the market after a 4-year run with the New Orleans Saints, which he just made just made just 10 starts. Winston has yet to consistently stay healthy or control the ball when pressed into extensive action. This says he $4 to $5 million value. Bills, Broncos, or Raiders is best fit. Let's see here. CWR says, what do you think happens to Gardner? Well, we'll see if he's on this list. I haven't gotten to the end. Carson Wentz, he has played 9 years, current team with the Rams. His projected value is $4 to $5 million. They say best fits: Bills, Rams, or Saints. So there's going to be a lot of jockeying for these guys. Number 5, Jacoby Brissett. He's played 9 years. He's with the Commanders. And best fit could be a lot of these same teams: Browns, Cardinals, Jets, or Patriots. So, save for an underwhelming stop with the Miami Dolphins, Brissett has posted respectable marks as an emergency fill-in or last-minute starter where he's been. Granted, his teams have almost been exclusively asked him to be conservative with the ball, so we'll see where he goes. Gardner Minshew at number 4. 6 seasons, Colts, says the former Jacksonville Jaguar fan favorite. Perfectly straddles the line between starter and backup, never quite settling in as an efficient, accurate game manager while also never losing the spirited poise that wins teammates over and produces some timely big plays. 5 years in, it's relatively clear he's better suited as this writer says, a plan B under center, but scrappy playoff caliber stretches for both the Jags and the Colts. You could do much worse. They actually value him at $7 to $10 million. And they say best fits could be back with the Colts, Raiders, Steelers, or Vikings. For him, since he's local, where is his best fit? Back with the Colts, to the Raiders, Steelers, or Vikings?
Vikings.
I think so. At least face value, it seems like Vikings.
Well, you were, when you were first giving out that list, I was actually thinking maybe Steelers, but they are in a position where they've got to go big at quarterback, so I don't think that would be the best. But I can see the Vikings because I don't know that they're going to re-sign Kirk Cousins here. What's your plan B and C?
Yeah.
You've got Dobbs, and I don't even remember that a rookie. Options aren't great.
No, they're not. Let's see here. CWR says, well, we just answered that about Gardner. And KO, the best fit for Winston is at the house. Save the money. Ryan Tannehill, 13 years in the league with the Titans right now, $5 to $15 million value. Best fits, Jets, Patriots, Steelers, or Vikings. Number 2, Baker Mayfield. They say he's still a projected $25 or $30 million guy. You think so?
Yeah, just based on last season. He made himself money. He was surprising, so I can't take the shots at him that I used to, but I still didn't look at him last year and just think, fantastic.
No, I agree. Best fits, Bucks, Falcons, Raiders, Vikings. And number 1, Kirk Cousins. Said he still has a value of $35 to $45 million. Broncos, Commanders, Falcons, Vikings, Raiders. So there's a lot of jockeying here. What's interesting, though, even for Minshew, I mean, he's listed in the top 4, Cousins, Mayfield, Tannehill, and then Minshew. Number 5 is Brissett. And you look at the guy on the list, it's the youngest, it's going to be Minshew and then Mayfield. 6 years in the league for Minshew, 7 years in the league for Mayfield. All of these guys are going to land somewhere. It's just where do they land? What is the value? And you got to throw all that into the hopper with what's going to happen in the NFL draft. All of it. Because any of these teams that select a guy in the first round, those guys we know are going to get the shots. I mean, you take even in Indianapolis, they're going to go give every chance they can to Anthony Richardson, who's going to have every shot because they're paying him so much money. Whatever happened to Trey Lance? We didn't talk about this guy at all. Where is he?
Last I heard, he was with the Cowboys. I don't think they released him.
I just thought about that. I was thinking about players who were drafted number 1. And that's what's interesting is a guy like Trey Lance. I do remember him going to the 49ers. We'll see if he stays with the 49ers. I mean, just there's been nothing of him. I mean, I know he's battled injury. He's had a cup of coffee on the field, if that. Maybe half a cup. But what happens to Trey Lance? Does he stay with the Cowboys? What happens to what's the young kid for the Jets? What's that kid's name? See, I can't even remember now. BYU.
Oh, Wilson.
Zach Wilson. What happens to Zach Wilson? What's interesting is like Matt Corral wasted no time getting him out of the NFL. And he wasn't, he was what, 2nd round pick, 3rd round pick? And now he's in the USFL/XFL, whatever it is. It's just very weird. Very, very weird. So where is Trey Lance? Is he still with the 49ers?
Cowboys.
And will he stay there?
Yeah, 3rd string. I mean, you don't have to do anything. They don't have to count on you. It's a perfect spot for Trey Lance.
We're brought to you by BCI. Go to bcipeople.com to learn more today, or you can call 601-427-4185. Begin your protection today with BCI. Let BCI work for you. We're also brought to you by Ameristar Casino. 4 great restaurants to serve you on the property. Also, the Bottleneck Blues Bar on the weekend. Get the bet builder, ameristarcasino.com/Vicksburg. Go to the end zone, get in, and get ready to play. Hour 3 coming up in just a bit. Doug Kyle in 15 minutes.
WRKS Pickens Jackson, where it's
Time to
take a ride. Yes, we're back with Jake Wimberly on the afternoon drive. It's live, it's local, and it's on ESPN 105.9 The Zone and online at thezone1059.com.
Hour 3 on a Monday, brought to you by Capital Grill in Jackson, 5050 I-55 North Suite F. 18 TVs, get the game of your choice, handcrafted foods, Michelob Ultra, Bud Light, courtesy of Southern Beverage. Please drink responsibly. Find them on Facebook, also capitalgrillofjackson.com. Grab an appetizer or meal. Forget about your work day with Capital Grill in Jackson. 601-897-1059. That is the Malone Roofing call line. You can always call or text 601-885-3776. We'll have Doug Kyle on next segment talking a little college baseball poll. Let's see here. Tyler Durden. Unfortunately for Matt Corral, NFL equals not for lunatics. He's going to have to hit rock bottom and work his way back like Chad Kelly, who, by the way, was top CFL player this past year. Maybe he makes it back. Very well could. RT, let's see. Too many injuries, not enough painkillers. Sucks, but that's his deal. Yeah, not sure who he's talking about. All right, talking to these quarterbacks in the NFL, let's move forward, shall we? 2024 college football spring practice scrimmage dates are set. I know you're ready for this, but Hawaii is already in spring practice. Their spring game is February 22nd. It's this week. How about that? 22nd.
Wait. 20th. On a random Thursday. Thursday.
Hawaii football, man. It's Rainbow Warriors. Very unconventional.
Apparently.
Missouri, they are starting spring practice February 27th next week. Their spring game will be March 16th. Remember, not everybody goes consecutive weeks. Some break it up. Everybody does it a little differently. Auburn spring starts February 27th. Their spring game is April 6th. Let's see here. The Miami football Hurricanes start March 4th and end April 13th. They are not playing a spring game. Let's see. Moving through, looking at some of these. LSU starts March 5th. They will play and conclude on April 13th and play a spring game. Arkansas, March 7th to April 13th. They'll play their spring game April 13th at 12 p.m. Notre Dame will play a spring game on April 20th. That will be on Peacock. You can watch that at 1 p.m. Let's see. Looking through here, I don't have a Florida. Florida has not set a date yet for spring practice. Who knows if they can play in spring. Tennessee, March 18th through April 13th. They'll be on the SEC Network at SEC Network Plus, 1 p.m., April 13th. I am just chalking through here on what I see. Some of these have not been set. Alabama, A-Day is April 13th. Clemson, April 6th, 1 p.m. This is spring games. These are not in alphabetical order. Mississippi State, I don't see them. Of course, I'm sure they're going to put that around Super Bulldog weekend. Ole Miss, the same, not fully set on this schedule, but we'll get more into that. So just looking through some of these spring, you can get Kennesaw State spring game on April 19th. You ready for that? Get you some Kennesaw State football. All right, ranking the best quarterback rooms for this year. You know, it's interesting because I went through the SEC schedules this weekend, starting to pull all the stuff together. You know, I think it's going to be the worst team in the SEC this year. Florida. I can't get over 2 wins, 2 to 3 wins for this team. Can you believe that? We talked about that last week a little bit. I mean, they may get to 5, but they're going to scrap to get to 5. I don't see a path to bowl eligibility for Florida at all. I like Texas in the regular season. I have Georgia beating Texas in the SEC title game. Both teams will make the playoffs. And I've got Ole Miss finishing 3rd in the league right now. I think they're that good. Ole Miss is going to be that good. Tennessee, Tennessee, LSU, and Oklahoma, I think are teams that can really make some noise. LSU's got to get things figured out defensively. And I think Oklahoma can make some noise. What is noise? 9 wins. It's better than a nice team. I mean, Missouri, and I do have Alabama with. It's going to be tough to get past 8 wins for Alabama. Is that fair for me to say today? 8-4 for Alabama. Now, you know, I don't mind putting that out there. 8-4 feels right for Alabama this year. You're not buying this.
No, I mean, well, now, no, I'm not buying it, first of all, but
Seems too hard to believe, doesn't it?
your wording, yeah. You've even gone now to, I already forgot what you just said. But you said it's going to be tough for them to get past 8-4. Now, before you questioned it, you said when the Saban retirement first happened, could they fall back to 9-3, 8-4? But now you say it's going to be tough for them to get past 8-4. You have really placed them way down there.
Well, I just think there's too many obstacles for Alabama this year to be a national contender. Trying to fit everything together with this new coaching staff. Trying to get everything right behind Jalen Milroe. I think there's issues on the roster. There's defections in the roster. And their schedule doesn't lend itself as much. I mean, you look at their schedule, Western Kentucky, South Florida, and then at Wisconsin, and I don't think that they'll go lose to Wisconsin. I think they'll start out 3-0. But Georgia coming in, this Alabama team is not going to beat Georgia. I will tell you, matter of factly, on the 19th day of February, this Georgia team is going to come in to Tuscaloosa on September 28th, and they are going to hurt Alabama's feelings. I mean, they just really are. Kirby Smart will take this personally for whatever that's worth. I don't think we build that up way too much, but they'll be dialed in. At Vandy, so they're going to lose to Georgia. At Vandy, South Carolina. At Tennessee. Tennessee is going to be really good. Now, are they good enough to win the conference? Probably not. Are they good enough to beat Alabama at home? Yes. Missouri's going to be really salty, but I think Alabama wins there. And then a close loss, I think, at LSU. I think a close loss at Oklahoma, and then they play Auburn. So, yeah, I mean, there's definitely 4 losses on this schedule. Now, if Kalen DeBoer gets everything right, they could go 10-2. This feels like an 8-4 team to me. What do you think over there?
Yeah, you know what? 8-4 sounds crazy. Looking at this schedule, there's just too much. There's too much unknown just because you lost the best coach in history. That's it. That's what it all boils down to. But there's still talent there.
Oh, there's talent there for sure.
But that's the only reason that I would think to entertain your 8-4 insanity. But I do see a loss to Georgia, potentially Tennessee, potentially Missouri, maybe LSU. Oklahoma, maybe? That's 4 right there, but no.
And then there's Auburn, who should have beat them last year.
Oh, no, that one I will not entertain. Get that out of here.
It's the Iron Bowl. Jake, be real. Vandy will be worse than Florida. Also, when Ole Miss blows it, you will owe me and Beav a public apology. Is Vanderbilt going to be worse? I don't know. I mean, Vanderbilt looks right now like a 3-9 team. They play Virginia Tech opening weekend. They'll lose that game. They play Alcorn State at Georgia State. They should win. They should also beat Ball State. The rest are SEC games that I don't know that they have a win in them. But when you look at Florida's schedule, they have by far the hardest schedule in the conference and maybe the toughest schedule in the country. We've talked about this. They play the Miami Hurricanes. They'll be an underdog in week 1. Now, if Napier somehow wins that game, then this season's going to look totally different. But Miami will be probably a 5 to a 7-point favorite going in that game. They'll lose the game. They play Samford. That's a win. Texas A&M at Mississippi State, and I think Mississippi State has a shot in that ball game simply because it's in Starkville. The Gators play Texas A&M the week before. Mississippi State plays Toledo the week before. They get a bye week. Central Florida, they should win the game, but man, could you imagine if Gus Malzahn and KJ Jefferson go in there and win that game? They'll be in the game. At Tennessee's a loss. Kentucky has owned Florida. Georgia, at Texas, LSU, Ole Miss, Florida State. They'll be an underdog in all those games. So I'm not so sure that Florida will be better than Vanderbilt. And I cannot believe I just said that. It's hard to believe, right? But this Gator team is very, This may be the worst stretch Gator football's had in quite some time. Let's see here. Johnny Vegas, let's see. it's the Razorbacks' year. Well, I don't know if it's the Razorbacks' year. Razorbacks could be staring 3-9, 4-8, 5-7 in the face. Very well could be staring all that in the face. We got one more text here. Did Alabama's new coach keep Robert Gillespie as the running backs coach? I don't know. I'll have to check on that. 601-885-3776. We're brought to you by Sound Communications, online at soundcomav.com. Collaborate, design, and build. They've been around since 1955. Let Sound Communications help you today. Time out on the floor. Doug Kyle coming up next.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. And welcome back to the Afternoon Drive with Jake Wimberly, where he's talking about anything and everything that's Mississippi sports.
No, great afternoon.
Right here on ESPN 105.9 The Zone and online worldwide on the Zone1059.com.
Brought to you by Madison PTS. Find their new location at 316 Old Jackson Road in Gluckstadt. Go to ptssports.training. That's ptssports.training. Let Bill Thomas and their team at PTS Power Pitch and help your athletes this spring. Take advantage of their new facility. Ask about cage rentals, also velocity enhancement. Ask about their sports performance evaluation, arm care program, strength and conditioning, and more. Call 601-898-1828. Doug Kyle on your radio, College Baseball Central. Little update on now baseball, of course, as we're underway here collegiately. Doug, welcome in, sir. How are you?
Hey, Jake. How's it going?
Good, good. Hey, your thoughts real quickly. I know it's a small sample size. State goes 2-1. Ole Miss goes 2-2. Southern Miss 2-1. Off we go here in the state of Mississippi.
Yeah, and, last time we talked, I told you I think the cure that all three of these teams are going to have is they're just going to need to win some games. Everybody knows about the last year or two for Ole Miss and State, and, they say history is what you've always done, but reputation is what you've done lately. And that's the reputation that State and Ole Miss are both trying to overcome. And they just need to win some games. Southern Miss just needs to show that, that they're going to pick right up, with Scott Berry leaving and Christian Ostrander coming in. And no better example than the Mississippi State softball team. They were picked 13th in the SEC, and I need to clarify that Vanderbilt doesn't play softball, so they were picked last, but they go out and beat some ranked teams and throw some no-hitters, and next thing you know, they're ranked 18th in the poll. So winning cures a lot of things.
Make sure to follow them on X at College Baseball Central. That's College Baseball CNT, also YouTube and more. We'll tell you how to find all their content before we get Doug out here. Doug, when you look at the top 25 coming into this week, not a whole lot's going to change early. But you got Wake Forest. They're the apparent favorite not only in polls, but you go to Vegas. You look at Penn Gaming; they're the favorite right now to win the College World Series. We got a long way to go before we get there. Oregon State 2, LSU 3, TCU 4, Arkansas at number 5, and then of course you go Florida, Texas A&M, Tennessee, South Carolina, Duke. A lot of ACC flavor, or some ACC flavor there, a little West Coast flavor, and a lot of SEC flavor.
Yeah, and the funny thing is that Florida lost their only game. St. John's beat them on Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday were rained out. So they're winless, but they're still ranked 6th. So, like I said, reputation has a lot to do with it. And South Carolina is probably moving up a little bit. They actually had a combined no-hitter as one of their 3 wins over the weekend. So, it's crowded at the top. It's going to take some wins, and it's going to be, an uphill battle for the teams in this state to get ranked. But it can be done, especially once the conference play starts and you start playing a lot of the big RPI games.
Tell me a little bit about Iowa. If you know, the 15th, Kevin Griffin was in here, head softball coach at Belhaven. He was speaking of Iowa's Friday night starter. Said they'll play a 3-game set against Ole Miss coming up here in a few weeks. They are at number 15, and it looks like they could be the class out of the Big Ten this year.
Yeah, and they've got a kid named Brody Brett who has been lighting it up in triple digits. I don't think he had that good a weekend, but they're solid. A lot of our guys think that they may have the best 3-game rotation anywhere in the whole NCAA. I'm sure South Carolina would argue with that. LSU might even try to argue with that. Wake Forest would definitely argue with that. When Wake Forest gets the best pitcher from Tennessee that transfers over there, and he threw an inning the other day where it was like 8 or 9 pitches over 100 miles an hour. And you're wondering, how do you face that as a batter? It's like Paul Skeens
2.0.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. Looking through here, of course, you got some of the mainstays in top 25 baseball: East Carolina, North Carolina, NC State. Kentucky checks in at number 19. Campbell down at number 22. The Camels. How good is this team?
Well, they had a kind of a slow start. I think they got beat in their first game, and then they came back and won a couple. A lot of the state people know them because that was who state had to beat in the regional a couple of years ago, to get into the super regional with Notre Dame. I'll tell you a team that I really like. It's not SEC, but East Carolina. Cliff Godwin's over there, and they have got one of the best feel-good stories this year. Is a kid named Parker Bird, and he lost his lower leg in a boating accident.
Yeah, I saw
he
that.
made history this past weekend. Our folks knew about him last year, and we were trying to get an interview with him, and they were trying to kind of keep it low key at that point. And then he burst on the scene, and now you get in line to interview him. But the first player with an artificial leg to ever play D1 baseball is such a great story. I really love it.
Yeah, it's a great story. I think I put that out on, retweeted somebody put that out. It's all over, the sports world this weekend. A fantastic story. If you haven't found that, go find that. It's really, really interesting. You look outside also, some of the normal names, the UC Santa Barbaras, Cal State Fullertons, Sam Houston State is in here, Wichita State. It is Dallas Baptist. It is just, again, it is a chopped up field full of great teams. When you go 1 to about 40, it's really good baseball.
Yeah, and in UConn, people may kind of scoff about, East Coast baseball, but UConn is going to be a player. And then St. John's, the team that beat Florida, is from the Big East, too. So we've got a guy that writes the Big East report, and he was just, lathering at the mouth he told me over the weekend, he said, I've got my lead paragraph already, St. John's beating Florida.
Tell everybody where they can follow you guys. Of course, more information will be coming out as we move through this. We'll be literally chalked into conference play here. Before you know it, you're going to blink. We're going to be in conference play in the SEC and around the country. Where can everybody find your stuff?
Yeah, our website is www. Or do you say that anymore? Anyway,
you can.
collegebaseballcentral.net. We have put a ton of stuff up there today. I'll recapping most of the major conferences, including the Sun Belt. I do the Sun Belt report weekly, and you can go to collegebaseballcentral.net on Twitter or X or whatever you like to call it. It's at college CENT. I'm sorry, college baseball CENT. Okay. And then we actually have a YouTube channel where we do our weekly show. We have a Saturday morning show called The Weekend Rotation. And a lot of our guys get on there, and they have pick-ems, and they have different segments on there. It's a real fun show to watch, too. I'm just hoping that we get to see some of the Mississippi teams start showing up there pretty soon.
There you go. It's going to be fun. Doug, I appreciate your time. Tell all the guys over there we said hello, and look, we'll do it again next week.
Thanks, Jake.
Appreciate it. Doug Kyle with College Baseball Central. That's the thing about college baseball. We talked about that a lot is, this thing, you're going to be a conference play. You're going to know real quickly who is who and who is not. All right, let's see real quick before we go to break. Johnny Vegas said it's the Razorbacks year. What do you think about this? He's coming. He's ready. It's ready. I just wonder who he's going to have the Razorbacks playing in the national championship game, because he always has a Razorbacks national championship pick. So it's Arkansas chalking through the college football playoff playing who? Unnamed texter. Did Alabama? I don't know about that. I have to get back to that. That's the Robert Gillespie Grizz. In regards to Bama, Tennessee just stole the linebacker, co-defensive coordinator from them today. Linebacker coach, that is. Look, it's going to take Kalen DeBoer time to get his footing. I mean, his team has been poached. His coaches have been poached. Even guys he wanted to bring with him have been poached. It's, again, call it what you will. I think Alabama's 8-4. Vegas, depending on the odds that you look at, some have them a win total of 9. I've seen 9.5, and I've seen 10. Where would you put Alabama today? You're thinking more about this 8-4 thing too, aren't you?
I cannot fully call you insane for maybe thinking 8-4. I see 9-3 on the schedule, but I mean, there's some questions there.
They're not going to put up with 9-3.
No, they won't.
They won't do it.
You would. Well, you know what? Maybe. No, it's still too logical. It's too logical to think that maybe, perhaps, you look at reality and think, oh, you know what? We just lost Nick Saban. But even then, I don't know that Alabama fans would do that.
Yeah, DeBoer's not going to get run over 9-3. There'll just be a lot of complaining on the social channels and message boards and such. Hey, we're brought to you by New South Neurospine. ns2.md is their website. Let them help you with all of your issues. Of course, you can go to learn more today what they can help you with. ns2.md, walk-in clinic available in Flowood, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, also Saturday until 1 o'clock. Let them help you out. New South Neurospine, Mississippi Spine Center, Texas 601-885-3776. Back in a bit.
Okay, we're back. I'm ready. It's more of the afternoon drive with Jake Wimberly, where he's live and local on Jackson Sports Authority, ESPN 105.9 The Zone, and online at thezone1059.com.
Brought to you by Williams Newman Williams. It is the afternoon drive. Car wreck, truck accident, nursing home neglect. Online at WNWlegal.com. That's WNWlegal.com. Let Matt Newman and his team help you with any of the above following. Of course, car wrecks, if you've been in a car wreck or a family member, truck accident, 18-wheeler, or nursing home neglect. WNWlegal.com. All right, let's see. Looking through the notes here. Let me get caught up on these texts. JC. I could buy that Florida will have an equal or worse record than Vanderbilt, but if you think those teams are even in the same stratosphere, then you're no different than these people who are still disciples of Fauci. No, JC, I didn't say they're in the same stratosphere. I am just telling you there is too much against Florida this year. Way too much against Florida. Look, do you realize last year the Florida Gators, who I have as my 12th best team in the SEC, they were 108th in offensive scoring efficiency. Now, defensively, they were not that bad. They were 39th. But to move into the 50s would take a gargantuan jump. And when you throw this schedule on top of Florida, what they have, I mean, look, their non-conference schedule alone, Miami Hurricanes, they do get Samford, Central Florida, and Florida State. Miami, Central Florida, Florida State. That's their non-conference. That's unbelievably tough. Do you see a path to 6 wins for Billy Napier? I do not.
No, I don't. The other day, I struggled to really find a best-case scenario 5. Absolute best-case scenario, I see. I struggled to find 4 I felt really good about. But to go back to what JC's talking about, even with all that and that horrible schedule, we still can't put him in with Vanderbilt. Jake, I think that is going a little bit far.
Well, it's not that they are the equivalent of Vanderbilt, but their records could be close. If let me say this, if Florida had Missouri's schedule, if they had Missouri's schedule or Ole Miss's schedule, they would probably be a 5 or 6 win team. But they don't. They have the toughest schedule in the country. There's no other team that has a schedule like this. And I don't know that it's close. Let's see. JC. Jake, I don't see a path to 6 wins for you. Come on, JC. At least make me bowl eligible. Can I be Maryland this year like a nice team? JC's got me going, not even to a bowl. RT. Every player is a 5-star. Come on, guys. Milrow 9-3 crate. Nope. See here, I can't go that way. Let me tell you this. Alabama has had so much attrition over the last 2 years, and nobody wants to. It's almost like it's the thing people don't want to talk about. It's the elephant in the room. 25, 26 guys this year have hit the transfer portal. They had 7, 8, 9. Last year, 22, 23 guys. They only had 10, 11 come back in. Their roster is upside down. Yeah, the people that are there, really good. What you got over there?
I love how out of the 2, possible records that we're saying, RT says nothing about 8-4, but 9-3. That's crazy.
It's one ball game. He says, name one guy other than Milrow last year. 12-1. Easy. Come on, RT. All right, let me move on here. Buffalo Chris. Jake said this same stuff last year. Bama will win 10.
Oh, sure did. All right, Chris and RT, they've taught me back. They've taught me back into sense. I try to give you some B of the D. And they've come back and said, why? Why would you ever do that? Because I rarely give you B of the D. So I'm taking it back.
Nick Saban ain't walking out that tunnel. He's not. He's not doing it. If you think that transition is going to go straight from one coach to the next, and there's not going to be a drop off, it's going to be a sad day. I'm just telling you, you better watch out. Monkeys riding dogs. If he can turn a program around like Washington and plays for a national championship, don't write him off yet. I'm not writing him off. I'm just saying it's going to be tough. What was Washington's record prior to taking over as head coach? Look, Washington was not as good, but again, it's not the coaching. Look, Alabama, if you go look, and this, you can make this conversation for Georgia. Alabama and Georgia no longer have a stranglehold on talent in college football. Now, they're still some of the best rosters in college football. Georgia's going to be as good as anybody they roll out against. But I am here to tell you guys, Oregon is right there. Texas is right there. The Miami Hurricanes, Ohio State, they have the transfer portal has helped close this gap, and not necessarily bringing guys in, but the attrition on the guys going out. Georgia and Alabama have had massive attrition over the last 2 years. And again, I give you Exhibit A. What is Exhibit A? The Auburn football Tigers, coming off of the train wreck that was, what was that coach's name from Boise State?
Harsin.
Brian Harsin. In Hugh Freeze year one with a very average Auburn team, had Georgia on the ropes and should have knocked them out and couldn't do it. Had Alabama on the ropes, and if it were not for a heave and a hoe and a prayer, they'd have lost the Iron Bowl. The Auburn Tigers were like 3 plays away from knocking off Georgia and Alabama last year. Why is that? Why is that? If Alabama and Georgia are so dominant, why is that? It's just questions. I'm just throwing it out there.
You know how I feel about these ifs and, close wins. Close wins are still losses, Jake. If they were good, they would have won them.
I know. I'm just saying.
If they were that good.
RT has changed. He says Exhibit A is my brain. They won at least 8 titles. No, they hadn't done that. All right, let's move on. Where was that? Let's see. There it is. Quarterback rooms. Best quarterback rooms in college football. Now, I will say this. Alabama is rated by 247sports.com. Let's give some positive Alabama news. The 6th best out of 6, 1 through 6, 1 being the best, quarterback room in the country. You got Jalen Milroe as a starter. Ty Simpson is still there. Dylan Longergan, and then Austin Mack, who transferred in from Washington. So the quarterback room at Alabama is extremely good. What's that? Well, you don't think it's a good quarterback room?
Ty Simpson just negated that for me.
Yeah, I'm not sold on him either. He's in the quarterback room. Number 5, Georgia. Now, again, a lot of these guys aren't going to stick around once you may have a couple of these guys on all these rosters, any of these rosters, transfer after spring. Carson Beck, Gunnar Stockton, Ryan Peligski. He was the number 10 quarterback in the 2024 cycle, so they got 3 good ones. Ole Miss, number 4. Jackson Dart, Walker Howard, Austin Simmons, Braden Waterman. And Lane Kiffin he has just brought quarterbacks in, even quarterbacks that don't pan out. That were doing like Spencer Sanders last year. Number 3, Oregon. Oregon could potentially have the best quarterback room in the country. Dylan Gabriel from Oklahoma. Dante Moore, UCLA. Austin Novosad. Number 2, Ohio State. Will Howard, who comes in from Kansas State. Devin Brown. Lincoln Kienholz. Julian Sayin from Alabama. And the best quarterback name probably in 30 years, Air Nolan. He better be good. You can't have a name like Air Nolan and play quarterback and not be good, right? Like, if your name is Air Nolan and you're not good, should you change your name?
Yes.
What should you change it to? Just Richard Nolan, something like that. I think it should be something like that. Let's see. We're brought to you by our friends at Capital Orthopedic, online at capitalortho.com. Same-day appointments can be made online at capitalortho.com. Flowood, Madison, Clinton, Brookhaven, Hazelhurst, and Kosciuszko. Move better, live better, and be better with Capital Orthopedic. You can always call to get more information as well. 601-987-8200. One more segment to go on a Monday. Back in a bit.
This is the home of the Chuck Oliver Show every weekday from 10 till noon on Mississippi's live and local sports authority. And where? We're back to Jake Quiverly with the afternoon drive on ESPN 105.9 The Zone and online at thezone1059.com.
Final segment on the Money brought to you by Wint McGee. He is the mortgage man, online at mortgagemanms.com. Learn more today. Bank of England Mortgage, a century of American stability. Go see him or find him at mortgagemanms.com to set up an appointment today. We're also brought to you by Maristar Casino. Grab something good to eat. 4 great restaurants. Also, get over and enjoy the bottleneck on the weekends. We appreciate Kevin Griffin in studio, and Doug Kyle will have that tomorrow at some point on the podcast. Tomorrow we will have Chris Landry moving a day for us, and, of course, we'll go to Oxford and Starkville and move around as we typically do. Let's see. JC says Jake picks one national champion, and now he's Nostradamus. Hey, I've done more than one. What do you – JC, do not get mad at me because Alabama's going 8-4. I didn't do it.
Couldn't help but notice that you were about to say I've picked more than one.
I have.
That was your glory day.
What, Michigan?
Yes.
Well, I mean, I just happened to peg that one right.
Yeah, but you were going to say
There's been more than one.
I've been with you a while here. I don't remember.
I mean, some of these have been slam dunks. A couple Bamas, a Georgia. Those are pretty easy. Michigan was the one out of left field. And I don't know who's going to win it this year yet. I haven't gotten that far through all this yet. I've worked through the SEC, and I'm fixing to get into the ACC schedules. I feel pretty confident that Texas is the best team in the league, but Georgia is right there, and I could see a scenario where these two teams play 3 times this year, believe it or not. Once in the regular season in Austin, once in the SEC title game, and then possibly in the playoff. It could happen. Texas has the best quarterback room in the country, by the way. Quinn Ewers, Arch Manning, Cole Lord, Trey Owens, and Joe Tatum. No way all these guys are going to stay. Malik Murphy, and props to him. He's out. He's going to Duke. He did more than enough waiting around, and this guy needs to play football, and he'll play for Manny Diaz. Real unnamed texter. I think Ty Simpson can be a nice quarterback. I like the way you did that. J-Rock, you forgot to say the number 1 quarterback row, and I think it would be Texas. Yes, J-Rock, it is Texas. Man, y'all sleeping on Texas. I'm telling you, this Texas team is going to come into the SEC, and they're going to hurt feelings. That's happening. That is happening. Matthew McConaughey is going to be beside himself this year. Churro. Don't know if y'all touched on it, but congrats to the Florence Eagles boys and girls soccer state champions. No, Churro, I had not touched on that. Thank you for sharing that. I knew that they were in the midst of soccer. How about that? Is Florence the soccer capital of Mississippi right now? Can you believe that? Jerry's Catfish, Barry's Seafood, and soccer. Now, Florence has always prided itself in soccer. Probably way too much more than their football program even back in the day, but that's another story for another day. How about that? 2 state championships, unbelievable championship catfish, and then seafood. Right there in Little Florence, southwest Rankin County. What do you think?
Oh, man. 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Jerry's and soccer.
Oh, you're not a Berries fan? What?
Dynamite pork loin, though.
I mean, you got to just pick what you like. I mean, they got everything there. RT, Miami wins it all. I'm not ready to go there yet. I got to work through it. I'm not ready to go there.
RT, you're gonna try to talk sense, and then drop that Miami. I don't know where you're coming from anymore.
Yeah, me neither. Squez says, let's not forget LSU or the Vikings. Stay away from purple. Actually, you did pick the Rams that year. I did. Maybe stay with blue and yellow. What do you think about that? Maybe he's onto something.
Did you pick the Rams preseason that year?
Yes. Played the money at Ameristar. Sure did. Yep. Sean McVay, the hair, Aaron Donald, the whole deal. So maybe it is blue and yellow in some form or shade. Michigan, the Rams. Maybe that's what I got to be looking for.
That means 2024 Pearl Pirates state championship.
How about that? Hey, look, all jokes aside, and we haven't even gotten into this yet, I do think Region 3-7A, Meridian is in a monster rebuild. Petal, Marcus Bowles goes back to Petal. Monster rebuild. Oak Grove will be talented, but they lost. I've never seen Oak Grove lose. I mean, they had so many guys with Division I or junior college. They will be good. Never count them out, but they're going to be in a rebuild. Northwest Rankin will be Northwest Rankin, which is competitive and good. I want to see them still take the next step. It's going to be Pearl and Brandon. It is Pearl's time to step up to the plate. You got a junior quarterback who's one of the best in the state. You got skill guys that can go. I mean, you got to call your shot now. You got a small window. You got 2 years. Can you get it done?
I don't know. Y'all are buying some really good players over there.
What are you talking about?
I'm not sure.
Wait, what are you talking about? What do you mean, y'all? Who's buying what?
Y'all. You know good and well who y'all is.
Buying players?
Y'all.
We're not the Patriots. What are you talking about? Let's see here. Unnamed texter. Jake, I will puke if Texas A&M and the Longhorns ended up dominating the SEC in a couple years, right? I can't get – look, this Texas A&M thing, they're an 8 or 9 win team probably, but they were 7-8-9 with Kevin Sumlin, 7-8-9 with Jimbo Fit. Does Mike Elko scare you to death?
Nope.
And I know Olin Buchanan and those guys, they love him. I mean, get it. He's one of their guys. I got to see it. They're still very talented. Let's see here. P-Town, let's see. P-Town Low Dog. New saying in Pearl. Back-to-back Jack Durr. How about that? Pirates are all in on Jack Durr as they should be. A lot of weight on that young man's shoulders. A lot of weight. He got big shoulders, though. So he can handle it. So is this the window for Pearl that we've been waiting on? These next 2 years.
Yes.
Pearl City.
Yeah, it is. Yes, it is, because you got this year, and then the next year, which is the end of that 2-year window you speak of, that's the return of Coach John Perry.
Wait a minute.
And it absolutely happens there. So, yeah, right on.
You got a new coach. You can't just throw him out without coaching a game.
I can, because he's no John Perry. Few are.
The State Grad 98. Another show of skipping my text. I don't see a text. What's he talking about?
Nope. State Grad, your last text was last Wednesday at 5:38. I can't put that on you, Jake.
Yeah, I don't. State Grad, you got to get him in here quicker than that. I hope you're doing well. All right, let's see here real quickly. We jump to bracketology, quarterbacks. There's a lot to get into this week. A lot to get into. Like the 5 craziest operations ever revealed. Declassified CIA documents are out there. Also, the remains of a whole other planet are buried at the center of the earth. Can you believe this? They continue to uncover all kinds of stuff. And we will get into this tomorrow. Jackson State hit with an $800,000 bill because former coach Deion Sanders ended a historic rivalry. So now the chickens are coming home to roost on some of this that Deion Sanders is doing. Do you think he will help pay this fine?
Of course not.
Brooksy MacJack, CIA Files and Alien Planets. I love this show. Brooksy, what are you doing? I bet you he's sitting over there either in a Popeyes line or he's at a baseball field. Brooks, Kevin was in today. You need to get back in here. You think Chris will come in with us? Didn't he ghost Matt Wyatt the other day?
Sure did.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. All right, let's see what else we got this week. Anthony Edwards sums up why the NBA All-Star Game is broken beyond repair. Did you see all the negativity on the All-Star Game this weekend? They got just raked over the coals.
Rightfully so. 211 to 186. I sent you a video Saturday night. I was watching. I don't know why I do this. I don't know if it's hate watch or in the back of my brain for some stupid reason. I keep thinking that maybe this year it'll be good again. And I speak of the dunk contest. It was horrible as always. And I'm watching this competition, half-court shot competition. Did you get – I sent you that video. 3 all-stars, okay? You're supposed to be the best of the best of the best. And these 3 guys are out there throwing up shots from the half-court line. And it took them forever just to hit a shot. 58.9 seconds. And once they finally hit one, they just stopped the clock. That was it.
Really? Well, as we get on our way, I'm going to let you read Chris's last text. That will close us nicely today.
Ugh. Chris Brooks just says, I was naked. End of show.
I don't even know what to do with that other than to be on our merry way. Appreciate Kevin Griffin. Also Doug Kyle. Remember, ketchup is king. Bacon's a delicacy. Aloha means goodbye. We will see you tomorrow. Have a good night.